Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Summer 2026 ACL Draw Show. I am Gordo. I've been very ill this past week, and my voice is on its last legs. So I have Quacks and Shaunatonin here with me to walk you guys through all the teams. I'm going to just give y'all a few quick words on how this is going to go, and then I'm going to shut up and answer questions in chat. We have 4 different groups for this Splits ACL. Each group will have 6 teams. Our lovely seating committee has placed all of these teams into 6 different tiers. Unfortunately, we had a team drop at the last moment, so we will have only 3 teams in Pool 6. We may backfill that or not after the fact, but we will only have 3 teams in this Pool 6, which I believe will be our first pool that we're drawing. That should be the first wheel up. I see the Pool 1 wheel is up right now. If we can't switch that up, that's also fine. Other things about the draw, we cannot have 2 sister teams in the same group, so the 2 9 Lives esports teams, 9 Lives and 9 Lives Rising, will need to be in different groups. Samsara and Samsara Bloom will need to be in different groups, and Next Level Esports and NLE Kittens will have to be in different groups. So we will keep that in mind as we go through the draw. There will also be 2 conferences for cross-group matches at the end of the group stage. That's not super important for the draw. I guess I should have said this up top, but traditionally we would do the captain's meeting before the draw show. All of the admins had prior conflicts today, so we are going to just do the draw show, and Duan will host the captain's meeting an hour before matches start on Friday. So that will be at 7 Eastern on Friday. An announcement coming for that shortly, I am sure, but he will walk you all through the rules changes at that time. For now, we are going to just do the group draw. All right, Sean, Quacks, the stage is yours, boys.
Sean, you want to go first?
Yeah, man. Hey, guys, welcome to the draw show, brought to you by Gordo Being Sick Lozenges. It's so awesome to be here. Really excited for this. I was also on the seating committee, so really excited to kind of see just how it played out. And there's a lot of really good teams in this ACL, so I'm really excited. How about you, Quacks?
I'm excited too. I think that obviously ACL is the premier tier 3 tournament. This is where a lot of people go when they want to just get their start to maybe look and see if they can take this to the next level, or they can go beyond this kind of atmosphere of competition into something greater. So I think that it's always really exciting when you get a lot of new teams, when you get a lot of new players who are looking and have aspirations of that sense, but then also the teams of players who have returned, I think always brings out a lot of excitement, because there are a limited number of NACL teams. Sometimes you spill over some players into here, and it's always really fun to talk about those individuals as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree 100%. I think the other cool thing that I would like to touch on before we get this wheel spinning is just ACL to me, with all the Go for LOL coming back and the, League Classic and everything. This is still a place where you kind of just see 5 friends just kind of get together and just kind of let it fly. And we'll see that and talk about some of those teams here today. But, without further ado, Spinner, spin that wheel. And it is just going to finally tick over on to Indiana Tech for our winner as it goes. This is a interesting group. This is actually one that I had way higher than most of the rest of the committee. Maybe I'm a bit too biased, but this is Bandit Boy, Kit Corinne, Luca One, Broadcoma, Scooter, and Uzi, or XD for substitutes.
Uzi, the man himself, would definitely get some haha XDs in there, here and there. But for this team, obviously, very loosely recognize, I would say, a majority of these players. But I think when you have any CLOL team, when you have any school that is entering the ACL, I have found that it is either a really good team that surprises everyone and actually manages to upset some teams that maybe weren't predicted to be upset by them. I think a good example of this was like Weaver State in some of the inaugural ACLs that they joined. A lot of people were surprised by their firepower. Or you've got teams that really fall to the wayside, really fall to the bottom. I think that this is the case in a lot of leagues where you have like master tier players, or you have a lot of diamond leagues just trying to join for their program to have a team and have some competition for them. And for Indiana Tech, I'm interested to see what kind of camp they fall into. Not necessarily under the impression that these players are bad, but I feel like I've seen so little of them that it's really presumptuous to say that this team will actually be in Pool 6 and they won't be really good as a unit.
Yeah, it's obviously when you talk about CLO teams, like obviously this is Indiana Tech. This is how I find out that their bot lane has moved from Converse potentially. This was the Converse bot lane for CLO.
Right.
And then you have the Indiana Tech people of Luca and Banda Boy with Kit Urukin, who is a name that I remember from EMEAs. I even think that this person sometime played in Turkey, if I'm not mistaken, like on a Dark Passage, about 2020-ish. So this will be an interesting team to kind of keep their eye on. I think that this team will be able to play spoilers. Obviously, I did not have them in the final pool, so there we go.
Yep, we got confirmation that Kitarukin is in fact a TCL guy, but we also have seen Kitarukin a little bit in NA as well. I think that he played in the most recent. I think he played in like ACL Fall or something like that last year on a team. And they had a lot of good players as well. I think it was like it had like Fodge and only 35 on it. So he's
nice.
played with some good players in the past, and so obviously
they were
this team
on
is
Kiwi.
Yeah. So it's a lot less recognizable of a team, I would say, but still kind of cool to see him come back after what has basically been a year away from the ACL.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, we'll go on to the next one and get this wheel spinning. As they're going to be placing Demacia. Okay, so we go Demacia and Noxus Piltovers. Remember, we're only going to have 3 teams in this pool because we did have someone drop. So just remember that for all you viewers out there.
Right.
And let's go.
Very close both times, yeah.
Both times it's gone. They just dodged down Nightingale's lane. 0 Typhoon. How about you take this one away here, Quacks?
All right, so if I knew a little bit or a minuscule amount about Indiana Tech, then I know basically next to nothing about Lane 0 Typhoon. So you asked me to take this one. I believe I recognize Halls 1, their jungler, but beyond that, Spark T-Spino, Steve Jackson, Humphreys, and Benjito are all names that I am not familiar with, or if I've casted them, I am not remembering them. They do have Holy Carrot as one of their supports, though, and I do recognize that name, which is a little bit funny. Yep, so I did get confirmation. Halls was on some of the older Calamity rosters, so when that org was just starting out. Thank you for the confirmation behind the scenes, Gordo. And yeah, again, I think that just because I don't know a lot about these players, it's very hard for me to have a proper analysis of this team. But what I will say is I think there are pretty significant jumps in skill, at least on paper, between the pools. So I think it is definitely Lane 0 Typhoon who have to prove themselves and not necessarily rely on the other teams imploding or blowing up or not being able to perform, because I think that there is a pretty big skill gap between Pool 6 and Pool 5 and then Pool 5 onward. And that is something that we'll have to overcome.
Yeah, I mean, what that means to me is that the seating committee did their job. So congrats, seating committee. No complaints. 2 teams in so far. You're perfect. All right. For this, the one that I actually really enjoying my eyes to is Humphreys. CeeLo people will know this guy was kind of the hope, in my opinion, for USF, University of South Florida. Played on that team, did a really, really good job, and I think they played this. Some people on this team played together on a team called Iceborne Challengers as well. But outside of that, I kind of agree with you overall. Outside of the fact that I think that their logo looks like a Pokemon or some sort of, Digimon that's coming out, so I quite like that. But outside of that, really looking to see, I think overall the expectations for these Team 6 teams is, you're not going to really know too many names from previous ACLs or previous tournaments that you may have watched, but that they're kind of in this like upset now and kind of make a claim to be on some of these higher seeded teams as time goes on here.
And I'm quite actually prepared for one of the Pool 6 or Pool 5 teams to really upset the competition. I think that last split in the ACL, we had some teams that were ranked around this area by the committee, and then they just blew everybody out of the water. We had a lot of really exciting teams last spring split, so I'm fully prepared for like one of these 3, or if we're including the Pool 5 teams that we'll get to in just a minute here, if we're including all 7 of them, I feel like at least one of them has to make a splash that we weren't maybe anticipating.
Yeah, and just confirmation, I asked behind, and it is confirmed. Top lane is Albino Spino, who I know we've seen here and there. So to me, that this gives this team a little bit more, name variety as well. But like now, I'm going to be looking for like Steve Jackson and Banjito to see what's going on here. Also, Holy Carrot. What a great name. Redfish sounds like something out of Game of Thrones. All right, let's find out who our last team is going to be here in the Piltover one as Typhoon goes over into the bottom of the group. And who could it be, Quacks? Call it now.
Oh boy, no idea. I think it's gonna be Night Tingles as hey, look at that. I got it right.
Wait, did you call them Night Tingles?
Oh wait, okay, it was upside down. It was upside down.
Night Tingles.
All right, now I Nightingales. All right, now I feel like I have to commit to that bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
I have to commit to that bit. All right, so it's Atmos, Dumpa, Flow, Nocturnal, Young Ben. I'm always gonna have a special place in my heart for Dumpa because when I was a little bit of a lore about me, when I was a Vi One Trick back in high school, when I was a freshman, I looked at Dumpa's VODs like religiously. This was the guy who you looked to if you wanted to get good at the champion. So it's really cool to be able to talk about him in a competitive sense because I've casted him before and I have like history of watching his games in the past. Obviously, I think has moved on from the Vi OTP moniker a little bit, but it is really awesome that he is still around and that I'm able to talk about him and just the fact that I've known this name for so long, even before I was a caster.
Yeah, honestly, super cool about that. I also have Nocturnal and Young Van are 2 names that kind of my eyes are drawn attention to on this roster for the Nightingales. Night Tingles, which I can't wait to hear that on cast all the time. But this is it's funny. I think I've known prior to like diving into some of these rosters at least a minimum of 2 players on each of these rosters, which I think bodes well for their ability to have those kind of upset moments of what you were talking about for these Pool 6 teams to where they kind of just blow everybody out of the water. So we'll look at the bottom of the groups now as we are just going to show where we are done with this pool. And then we're going to get into the Pool 5 seeds. Remember, if you're joining us late, we only have 3 teams because a team dropped out. We may backload that last spot here in the Zon group, but as for right now, Zon will only have 5 compared to the 6 for the other one. So without further ado, let's get that spinner for Group 5 up here. And I think as we're going to be going in here, there are some names that you'll see in some of these groups that maybe you think is a little bit lower, a little bit higher. For me, I'm going to tell you the one in blue right now is I had them also quite higher. And I think this is going to be my dark horse team immediately.
Well, like we talked about, at this point, you're looking for a lot of these teams to make upsets, and I think that it is statistically likely at least one of them will perform above the pool that they were seated in. So very excited to see if some of the dark horses that we maybe coin on this draw show do end up actually getting to that status in real time. But let's get the spinner on to see who the first team from pool number 5 will be.
Next Level Esports, the original NLE, changing their logo a bit. Fun story, I have an original Next Level Esports jacket that I think I actually won here on Aegis a long time ago. But this is going to be Brandoinks, Emrys, Deoxys, Draven, Baka, Goji with Foresight, and Keezing on the sub roster right here. Overall, this is right about where I had this team. Is, by the way, we need more teams to not have NLE be a potential tri-code, because there's 7 of them.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the sheet. I'm just looking at the sheet right now, and I saw a team that very much so was not the one that you read off or the one that is on the screen, and I was like, hang on a minute, and then I had to put my eyes toward it. I had to search for it actively when it was right in front of my face, because there are so many teams that have a similar tri-code or have a similar name just by looking at it at face value. But then I guess getting a little bit more into this Next Level Esports team, I really want to pay attention to Draven Baka, to Smalls. I think that this is a player who we've seen in a plethora of splits in the ACL before, and every single split he gets better. I am routinely impressed by his improvement, and I think that he always is a guy to watch out for. Anytime you watch his games, he'll usually make an impact, and I think that is very, very exciting just to see that incremental growth over the splits come through. Now he's on a team that he hasn't, I don't believe, played with any of these players before, so might have some growing pains initially when they start the season, but I have no doubt that he'll be able to come into his own, because I've seen this guy really pull off some crazy, insane performances in the past.
Yeah, the eyes for me, I think Draven Baka is the known quantity in terms of, as you said, always has improved, has really expanded that champion pool and improved. Is the solo laners, and then my X factor on how well this team can perform is actually their jungler, Emrys, right here. But I think Deoxys and Brandoinks are going to be 2 players that will be the reason why their ceiling is much higher than the pool that they're currently in. Really excited to see how this happens. I know Next Level, the brand, has kind of always been the ones to find some of these younger or unknown names, and then they go to the bigger.
I mean, Fiji started out with NLE, and now he's in NACL, was runner-up last split. So yeah, absolutely. This is a team that has had some big names on it before, Asila as well. So
absolutely, yeah. And I really cool. I love that from the staff over at NLE, and so just want to give them kudos there. And I believe Next Level Esports will be in the first group, unless we're just going to put them into.
Are we doing it Are we doing it in snake order, where now they're
going
to
the
first group?
All right. Sounds
they're
like
the first group. Good to know.
Yep.
And overall though, so Brandoinks has I think he's more of I like the term that Johnny Rockets used in the interview he gave with Slayer. It's not necessarily a carry champion player, but more of a counter pick champion player, to where if he's on a champion that he feels can give him agency, that he'll be able to really take over that lane and possibly impact the rest of the game. I look at champions like his, obviously Jace and GP, which I'm a huge GP fan. So really excited to see how they do this.
For sure. I think I obviously haven't really heard of Brand Doinks before, but anytime Gangplank is in the conversation for a player's pool, my eyes immediately shoot up because I think he is always fun to watch, and he's just generally, I'm of the opinion that Gangplank is a difficult champion. I know there's some people who say Gangplank is extremely easy, but I will die on the hill that I think GP is one of the hardest characters in the game. So if you can pull off a good GP, you have my respect for life, probably.
For life, you heard it right here, folks. Says, I believe we're ready.
Unless you're Tobias Fate, because I could be in his solo queue.
Okay, all right. So immediate redaction to the statement is crazy, by the way. But they're going to be joining Demacia here, and we're going to get ready to go to the spinner here in just a second to see who's going to be joining Lane Typhoon.
All right.
Lane Zero.
A lot of potentially dark horse teams are at this point or in this pool. So next one is going to be Stasis Gaming right here. So this is Fish, Maxander, Exodia, Franco, and Exo Mystic. Sean, I don't know any of these players. Do you have any information that would help me understand this team maybe a little bit better?
I also did not know many of the players just by names. They're running this 9-man roster with Woolala, Sao Wow, Shula Grace, and Marcotte, I believe is how I'm going to mispronounce that. But they have a lot of... This is going to be one of those teams where there is a champion that you almost have to ban versus one of their players, and there are more than 3 players who need a ban. So someone's going to get theirs. With Maxander being a Viego purist, it seems. My favorite, Franco down the bot lane playing Nyla, which if we see some Nyla gameplay, I'm all for it. I love that champion. Too bad she's not super good right now. And then Fish is an Aurelia enthusiast as well. So, you have that. Exo Mystic playing a lot of the engage supports, primarily like Thresh and Alistar. Right. This is a team that I think will be able to take some games off of people within the same within their group, but it's really just, I think, going to be coming down to champ dependency.
I agree with you. And I think that if you're having a player who is a Nyla specialist, very niche champion, it's always really interesting to hear one tricks of, or not necessarily one tricks, but enjoyers of a very niche pick such as Nyla talk about maybe what pairings are good with it, what win conditions the champion needs, and just generally the intricacies of how you play around a character that isn't often even seen, especially in like a solo queue setting. I have always been of the opinion that like Tarek is the best pairing with Nyla, but then like you can still have some good games with champions like the Sona. You can still have good games with champions like the Rel. I think that Nyla is surprisingly more versatile than a lot of people give her credit for as far as what you can actually put in the bot lane.
Agreed. And the one thing that I want you to take away from this is, you're kind of a Kha'Zix main. How many games would you say you put on Kha'Zix in 1 year in rank?
1 year. I would say I probably put like 300, 400. Like
so. Maxander loves his Viego champion so much that last year, in 2025, he had 1,171 games of Viego with a 54% win rate.
I mean, at that point, your significant other better be called Isolde. You better have a Gwendol. You need to.
This guy has more games than like multiple accounts combined on one champion.
You need to like embody the character at that point.
If I'm watching Stasis Gaming and someone does not ban Viego, oh my goodness, what are we doing?
Well, now hang on. I feel like I've seen games where you leave open the best champion for a player and it still ends up going all wrong for said player. I think an example I remember of this in recent months was like Doxa getting his Zoe and then not being able to win the game off of that, even though he did decently. So, you know, what's worse, having your OTP banned or not having your OTP banned, picking it and then losing on it?
Definitely the losing part. Discuss. As I think, you know, it's really good here for Stasis Gaming. They're going to be going into the next group as we're getting down to the last two teams for this group 5 here. As we're kind of just trying to breeze through here a little bit. As Piltover will get one of the remaining 2 of, I think it's 0 Hour and Bunny Girls, and then Zon will get their first look. So being lore accurate, Zon gets less. As we will go into the spin right now.
That's pretty good. And Zon does get less. As looks like it is going to be Bunny Girls. And this was the team that you were excited for, Sean. So, well, walk me through why this is your dark horse.
Okay, if I'm not mistaken, this is like pretty much a Game Changers roster or the League Impact Series that Blue Water is performing. And you have Star Bunny, Bunny Noise, Ayukara, Ryle, and Miramina. These are like good players, guys. I can't believe we put this team in the 5th seeds. This is a fantastic team. I think they've also, a lot of them playing together. I know Solaria and Animosity are listed as subs. I know Solaria also was coaching, I believe, one of the last times that Game Changers was around. So I think this is a very solid team. I know that people like Ryle or Dumb Bunny on here have these niche picks that you're talking about, right? With like the Twitch ADC that hasn't been seen in a while. Starry, I know, has played, the Cassante, more of a tank player generally. But this is a team that I think overall is going to outperform their seeding. If I had to make a stay on it, it would be 100% this one.
Be pretty exciting, as well as I think so far, at least, we aren't super far into the draw show. Admittedly, this is probably my favorite logo that we have had, and I think it'll be pretty difficult to beat. I'm looking across the sheet right now, and I don't think any of them have a logo that is I don't even what is the word? Is it cute? Is it wholesome? Like, I don't know. It's just cool. I like it. Yeah,
it's got a real je ne sais quoi about
it's just a bunny, but I just
real. It is. It looks like those create-a logos and like some well, I'm dating myself. You were not even thought of, but in like old like creative games, it has like Parappa the Rapper vibes, like the way that the art style is. So yeah, I'm 100% with you. As this team is going to be joining Piltover, I believe, as they will be joining Nocturnal right there for this summer 2026 ACL. And, now finally Zon will get a team, and we're going to talk about them here in the next second. I really hope it's Hour Zero Esports. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think it might be, as that is in fact going to be the team. Wow, what a good guess, Sean. But this is this one is interesting because I think on top of having some players that I have seen before and that I've spoken of and casted before, this team is also, like we've said, going to be in a group with less people, and they are going to be the lowest seeded one of this group. But I think inherently, because you have less competition, there is more possibility for you to make an upset if you actually are one of the dark horses that we're saying probably can be in this pool number 5. So that'll be kind of cool to see, because I think that the margins for error, the race will be a lot tighter in Zon than it is in the other groups, just because they have less teams.
Yeah, and I think it's like a double-edged sword, right? Because like you also have less teams, so less competition, so every win matters more. But also you have less teams, so every win and loss matter just as much. And being the proverbial lowest seeded team, as it is right here, because obviously ranked will be determined by how they perform. I look at this roster: Nutta, Bort Snort, great name by the way. Never Saw, also shout out Never Saw, who I believe was in the chat earlier. I don't have chat on right now, but as well, they were going on to the League Impact Series team. Verticality, Magician 4165431. You have to absolutely say that on cast. If you don't, you're a chicken. With Res Genesis by different names, not the Genesis that you know that plays mid lane. Fails and Zhao Yu Liang. This is a team that I look towards Neversaw and Verticality as being like the engines that will drive this team. If you were to talk about this team in like metas that define League of Legends, I think this is like, you know, when your mid and 80 carry bots, not mage bots, are like you went ahead into a team fight about as even as you possibly can, and then those two will be the ones to look to take over. Bro, it's actually Genesis? Bro, change your name and get a different account. Holy crap. Okay, that actually is Genesis. As I get called out in chat as I turn it back on, first thing I actually see. So, whatever. Yeah, good team. I've talked to the owner of Hour Zero before when they joined the promotion tournament. Seems like a super nice guy. So, really excited for this org and these players here.
Me as well. Also do see that Neversaw is in the chat. So hello, Neversaw. But for this
producer
team,
shouts you out.
Yes, producer shouts you out. But also, while you're talking about Neversaw and Verticality, I also want to talk about Nutta. I mean, this is a guy who we saw last split in the ACL, was one of the biggest surprises, in my opinion. I thought he was a really solid player. So on a new team with names that we have seen and talked about in the past, I think that will be it'll be cool to see him continue his journey here in the ACL.
Absolutely. And this is our first team in the Zon group. So for better and for difficulty's sake, they will be able to, make the most of these wins and losses for this team. Again, there may be a backlog team that comes in and joins as the Pool 6 air quotes team. But as we're going to look at these groups right now, just take stock of them. Anything standing out to you, or is it just kind of a little bit too early to call about the strengths of them outside of Zon only having one team?
I think that it's a little too early, but again, I think that Zon just being down a man in their group will make this a very interesting one by the end. But I think once we start getting onto like Pool 3, we can start coining, groups of life, groups of death, etc.
Yep. All right. I guess we will going on here now. This is, I think, where you're going to start seeing a lot of names that you, chat, and myself and Quacks will know. Let's give it a spin. Spin that wheel. Price is right, Mr. Quacks. This is you. Choose your moment.
All right. So, Dragon Ascendant Esports. So, I was looking at these teams beforehand, and I thought that this was a really interesting team. Again, W logo. I think that this and Bunny Girls are my favorite ones so far. But I've seen some of these guys before, as we have Jui Vega. Oh boy. Okay, Sonal. Okay, help me.
Sona Lover.
Sona Lover. Okay, Sona Lover 9.
Jesus, Sona
and King Duckling. Hey, listen, man, I had to cast LPL. My sleep schedule is ruined. I am not completely right, and I am a little fatigued here. All right, so cut me some slack. But like, as far as players that I know, I've seen King Duckling around, I've seen Vega around, and I think that really for me, it's just going to be about how the solo laners do. I think that one of the biggest things that we'll probably be talking about when it comes to tier 4 teams and beyond are the solo laners, because I feel those are the ones that are probably the most recognizable if you've been around the space. So how Funny Corgi and Jue end up actually faring against some of these more known quantities is really going to be the thing that, in my opinion, tips them from being a good team to maybe one that is underperforming.
Totally valid. For me, it's actually the opposite, as I'm going to try to butcher the name like you did, because I think Sonal UVR9 is how you're going to have to cast them, like Night Tingles. But Sonal over 9, and then Vega, who's from Pratt Community College. These are the two people that I'm really looking forward to, because I do agree, 100% agree with you that if your solo laners, especially in like tier 3, tier 4, are just better, it makes the game so much easier. But if you have a jungler like I've watched Vega be for Pratt Community College, and even some of his ACL stints, I believe he's also, or was playing in LRN, this guy can take over the map and will just force fights on any timer that is given to him. So if him and King Duckling can kind of link up, especially if the meta does stay the same now, although I did see a patch drop that would say otherwise. But regardless, it's always been the jungle support that can like link up first, regardless of meta. And I know that Sona Lover loves Ezreal, so that gives you a champion who is also AD carry, but also very safe. So those are the two people that I'm really looking forward to on this team. And also, absolutely great logo. It's super simple, right? The eyes are really, really piercing. It also looks like an actual trophy on top of our little Aegis podium right there, so I quite like that.
Yeah.
Like you got like an Xbox achievement. Shout out Xbox people in chat, all three of us. So...
I mean, I used to play some Xbox back in the day. I do wonder though what Dragon Ascendant are thinking the rest of this dragon will look like, because I know that it has obviously been popular to have the one with wings where it's extremely broad, but then there's also like the ones that are shaped like Aurelian's soul. They're super skinny. They look like a lizard. That
this is like the dragons from Avatar. That's what I think.
So like a combo of both.
Yeah,
a little bit. All right, that's valid. I actually like that. I'll join you in that being the headcanon for us.
Absolutely. As they're going to be joining the first group, which I believe is the Demacia group once again, as we are just going Demacia, Noxus, Piltover, Zon. Shaping up to be, I think, a pretty strong bottom 3 right here. We still have some really, really strong teams, and we're just going to get to it. As, by the way, chat, this has always been a logo rating stream. It's never changed, and it always will be. As I'm going to spin the wheel right now. Click, 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 click. Come on, Barker.
All right, a Team Samsara team.
Yep, one of the two Team Samsara teams, just to let y'all know, if there is a Team Samsara in this one, they'll be pushed to the next group because we cannot have sister teams in. But this is going to be Insight, Davd, or I would say David, Kuralkami, Shihai, and Beep in the support role. And this is the first team I think that doesn't have any like substitutes. So this is the team that you will see all year long, barring any type of scheduling conflicts. But for me, this is a really interesting team. Also, I'm more happy just that Team Samsara is still running 2 teams and kind of showing more. I know that their owner Kongji is in the chat. I've known Kongji for a very, very long time, and this is more of like, I think, where we need to be going with these type of organizations that are a little bit more grassroots, and they're trying to give some of these players a bit more shine, as this is kind of one of those teams, again, where they have certain champions that you're going to have to ban against them, right? And if you don't, someone's going to get there. So very much like what we were talking about with one of the teams in the pool 6.
Right, and Gara, who is another person on Team Samsara's staff, I believe the general manager. He actually DM'd me right as we started the stream to let me know that Shihai is 18, Insight is 18, and David is 18. So you've got very fresh faces, very much so a team with new blood, and I think that's really exciting. Like you talked about, I think Team Samsara has done a really good job at sticking to being a grassroots organization at their core, and it's awesome that they're picking up a lot of these players who maybe don't have a level of experience in the competitive landscape and are willing to put them on a team together and see how it goes.
Yeah, 100% agree. 3 18-year-olds on a team with very, very little competitive experience to my knowledge. I do know Beep has been around for quite some time, so that is going to be nice to have some of that kind of veteran voice, especially coming from the support position, I think. As you know, you have a rookie jungler and then the rookie bot laner as well, with the top laner who's going to be on an island regardless. That's just how we do it here in North America. But who says there's not North American talent? Team Samsara Bloom says, I raise you this team, as they are going to be going into our third group here of Piltover. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm ahead of myself. Noxus. Good joke, Sean. Haha. Everyone laughed, but everyone also hated that. So they're going to be joining Noxus right here. And I think, again, they're with that Stasis Gaming that I was just mentioning before about you're going to have to ban some of these, specialty champions out that they're more, proficient on. So I think it's interesting that they both land in the exact same group. So I am looking forward to see how Noxus kind of tops out with their top 3 seeds in that group.
I am as well. I think will be really interesting. But we've got 2 more teams left to see where they end up landing here for the final of pool number 4. So let's get that wheel spinning. And it looks like it is going to be... I can't really yell right now. I wish I could.
Holden!
Yep, there we go. All right. Thank you, Sean, for having a power that I can't. Okay, this might be my favorite logo.
This is like Sunshine Fruit Basket Warriors levels of amazing.
Yeah.
For all you old heads out here, Cypher Doinby, the SOFM, by the way, guys. No, not actually.
It's King Clueless.
Yeah.
Imposter.
Found him, sussy. Only for train, which it mentions a train, so I like it. Good job, Holden, the namesake. And then you got Paragon and Protoss in the bot lane with Alvin Chain Rocks, Day by Day Superiority, and For Deluxe for these substitutions. This is like where you kind of see like the power of friendship teams that you've like known names of kind of start showing up, and that's basically what this is. As I'm going to assume actually that's Paragon with his head sticking out right there. It's either him or King Clueless, because it would make a lot of sense. But this is a really, really fun team who has, a lot of CLOL experience, a lot of competitive experience, and this is a team that will definitely play. If you just looked at the ranks of these players, you would be like, why are they in this pool? But once you watch them play the game, they obviously play much higher than their ranks because of their competitive experience.
Right. And I mean, I feel like King Clueless, a team with King Clueless, Paragon, and Protoss is going to be hard to ignore. I think Protoss specifically is actually a really good player. I feel like I've seen this guy put on so many good individual games in the past, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he specifically can do in the ACL. I like how in the chat we're arguing about whether or not this image is AI. It's too good to be AI. AI could never come up with this.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Also, now looking more at it, all I want to know is who is supposed to be on the left-hand side squinting at the front driver.
I feel like it's probably all 5 of the players. What would be really fun is to try and play the guessing game of who all 5 of them are.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, I just want to know who. I'm going to say it's either King Clueless or Paragon for their head out the window, and then the other one is the one on the very left-hand side. But whoever the one on the left-hand side is that's supposed to be squinting, like glaring at the rest of the car, they're my favorite person.
I am going to go out on a limb here and say that's Protoss. I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's fair.
1 in 5 chance.
Or it's the top laner because he looks like he's isolated. So maybe that's Cypher Doomby. They did not get that far. So we're wasting our breath. Okay, so this team is going to be...
that's lame.
They didn't get that. Why? Y'all just drew people and then put one person's face. That's crazy, Paragon. That's crazy.
He's saying we could decide, all right, it's Protoss on the left. I've decided.
Not my headcanon. That's Cypher Doomby because he's the top laner, isolated, and he's like, what the hell is going on in the bot side of the map? And that's just everybody at Dragon Pit right now. So,
yep.
As they are gonna be going into Piltover. Man, that logo looks so cool.
Yep.
That logo looks really so cool right there. As now we're just gonna go into the last one for these pool 4 seeds. And boy, oh boy, I've confused myself so many times because I was like, don't we have 3 9 lives? No, we have 2 9 lives. We have 2 Samsars and we have 2 next levels. As it's going to be 9 lives rising here for our last spot and the second team in Zaun.
All right, so do have to say, I had a little bit of lore with Dumpa, right? That I was able to talk about just a few minutes ago. I actually remember Stevenator from his brief time on Risen. He was a caster there when I was just getting my start up too. I believe it was like my second ever split, and I saw him. He was in the same league as I was, but we were alternating weekends. So when I was the color caster for one weekend, he would be the color caster for the next weekend, and we just went back and forth. So it's cool to see him as a player this time around, because even when we were casting, I knew that Stevenator was like a high elo player. So neat to see him in the ACL now. Not super familiar with everybody else. I feel like I've seen Invincible 246 around. I want to say this guy was in like the Titan Esports League, but that's a reach. I could be wrong. I could be confusing him with someone else.
Totally makes sense. Yeah, I know Stevenator from his time at Aquinas. Played there, and then I believe he was a substitute for one of the AoE teams a long time ago. But he's also a former mid laner, and now is going to be doing a Boostio role swap into support to kind of support Monkey 30,000. Sorry, I love you 30,000 Monkey right here. As looking at this team, yeah, I don't really know too much of them, but the Dollar Deja Vu is a Vel'Koz monster, as I will not call this person a one trick, but my goodness, these long-range mage specialists are something to be feared, as nobody at any level can truly really deal with them outside of just playing long-range mages against them. But I like the Org of Nine Lives kind of coming in, and also already having a sister team to try to give lower players in terms of like their main roster and stuff like that. Probably does scrim against them. Also, like the staff over there, have talked to them quite a bit, as well as they are based out of or near Houston, Texas. So they already kind of have my vote right there, as they are going to be joining the Zaun group right there, as we are now done with the pool 4 seeds.
Yep, that's it. So we are hearing that there's some issues with the wheel, so we are going to have to do the good old fun task, Sean, of stalling, which is always a good time. Yesterday, when I was doing the LPL, we had a pause right as Skarner was Ishtel impacting someone into a wall, and that person was like about to die. So we had to like briefly hold our emotions for a pick coming through, and then just talk about the game state, even though we knew the moment we hopped back to live, someone was dead. But kind of going back a little bit to some of the players on this team, you were saying that Dollar Deja Vu was the Vel'Koz player?
Dollar Deja Vu is the Vel'Koz monster. 741 games of Vel'Koz this split with a 54% win rate. This year alone, about to surpass their 749 that they played last year on this champion. So
I feel like every time I see a Vel'Koz OTP, whether it be against me or on my team, it griefs me so hard. This is like the one champion where, everyone has those characters in solo queue where they're on your team and they suck, and then they're on the enemy team and they're really good. But then everyone also has those champions that no matter where they are, whether it's on your team or the enemy team, they're just always... It always feels like they underperform. So any guy who is able to pull off a really good Vel'Koz it impresses me, because I swear to God, I have not seen one in like over a year. They are all griefing me, or they're griefing against me and giving me free LP.
All I will say... Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, okay, this is also really crazy. The jungler I'm Risk is someone that I randomly followed because they were on my recommended channels on Twitch. This guy is smart. This guy is, yeah. Like, this is a smart guy. Like, I've watched him play. He's really, really talented. I love this pickup from 9Lives Esports. But back to the point of the Vel'Koz. If I see Vel'Koz support on my team and they are not, like, efficient at this champion, I get so furious for champions like that. Like, if I get a Lux, or if I get, just some of these like piss useless ass champs, excuse me, whatever, I'll pay the fine. But my God, I just get so upset. And then for playing against them, I don't like your champion pool. Like, I don't like playing against the champions that you play. So
that's understandable.
Meaning you, Quack. So when I play something that, like, you're like, oh, this champion's so busted, blah blah blah, I'm like, yeah, that's because I hate your entire champion pool. So yeah,
it is what it is. Well, I think it's funny too, because I remember when Azap actually went to Korea, I want to say a couple of years ago, and people would straight up dodge his lobbies because he picked Vel'Koz. Korea hates Vel'Koz so much they will not play with that champion on their team. It's a very interesting, like, niche cultural or region specific thing, but the just like refusal to play with that character, I think, is very fascinating.
Absolutely. As we did reinvent the wheel, actually, guys. So shout out to production, doing something that many people have always wanted to do, but could never reinvent the wheel. As we are now in our group 3 ones, as Gravity here was a late submission for us at the seating committee, but glad to have them in the org back. And we're going to spin that wheel right now and make sure that it works. Here we go.
Right. And a lot of these organizations are ones that we have heard of too. It's not just the players, and Amiibos Weebos is included in that. We've seen these guys before. I think that Gordo and I are big fans of this team. We love Amiibos Weebos. They were absolutely one of our favorite teams to cast last split, not only because they were extremely fun to watch the individual games on, but also because they were one of the teams that didn't reschedule very much, and so we had to constantly cast them week in and week out because every other team was rescheduling their games.
See, you love that. And this is like the quintessential power friendship team, because so when I started out my collegiate coaching career, we got some of these old heads, YHL, who I told Gordo when YHL first came onto the scene as a jungler from University of Texas, Dallas, that just to call him YHL, because that's what we called him at UTD. So the roster here of Zakin, Mr. Fluffy 361, Jambe, Noodles, and YHL. This is a good, fun team. They play exactly the type of brand of League of Legends that you think a Power of Friendship team should play, which is just, we are the chaos, whether it's for us or against us, we are it. And obviously, this logo has my heart because how freaking adorable is
What
that?
is that?
You know what? I believe it's Amiibo Weebo.
Honestly, I need to know what animal that is. That perplexes me. I want to say it looks like I don't even know. I don't even know what this ghoul is.
A tree kangaroo. Yes, because tree kangaroo used to be a player on this team. So shout out to Tree Kangaroo, another UTD alum. Whoosh, go Comets. But this is a fun team. They really performed well and went and made a little bit of a run into last split's ACL playoffs.
They did.
If I'm not mistaken. So again, this is a team that at the time, I think when y'all were doing the draw show last year or last split, would look at a team like this and been like, maybe they can take some games against top opponents. Maybe they'll be a little bit inconsistent. But they were consistent not only in scheduling, but in their ability to play together as a five-man unit. So really excited to see them as they are going to be going into our first group here as we are starting to get a better picture of what these groups are going to look like here in Demacia. As, man, This is so fun. I love the beginning of draw shows, man. It's always so much fun. All the potential about who can do stuff right here. As you know, we're gonna go right into the wheel. I think right here to see who's gonna be joining side of Group Noxus.
Right. So I talked about how most of these orgs are ones that we've heard of before, but I cannot say that I have heard of generic esports before. So we got a little Pac-Man logo right there. Or no, it's cheese that looks like Pac-Man and it's a fat little rat. I like that. And this one is Kino Zutter Lickable. I have been told multiple times that it's lickable, not likable. Principal and Saint Ghoul. And Zutter, I have another little lore bit for him. I mean, he was the former jungler, I believe it is former, I don't think it's current, for the University of Minnesota, which is
Yes.
State's University. So it's really always cool to see him. I actually got to play a Mayhem against him one time. I did not win, but any team that he's on, I feel like I silently root for just for a little bit of MN pride. We don't really get to do that in most of our sports because our sports teams traditionally suck.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. So this is, I believe, 100%. This is just the like a little bit changed. The top side's the same, but they changed out the bottom side for Tempo Rush from last split.
Right.
And I am of the opinion that Zutter is amazing. I love this guy. Obviously, I was casting that UNM win that they had 2 years ago over Converse on my channel. But this is actually, it's so funny that we're following up Meebos Weebos with a team like Generic Esports because, again, I think these are like 5 guys that want to play together, right? They're just putting it together themselves. They're fronting the bill for everything. There's no org attach them. Also, I kind of like their logo because while it does look like Pac-Man, it's like the stinky rat gets the first cheese or whatever sort of type beat, kind of stuff. So maybe alluding to their type of gameplay.
I mean, that is a really fat rat. I feel like he didn't. I feel like he didn't go to the cheese. The cheese came to him from his orbit.
Yes, the cheese now orbits the rat because it's just trying to become. It's like a magnet. Like there's because it knows so much of the cheese is already in the rat. It just wants to become one with the cheese again. So okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Generic esports. After we're done talking about, I hope none of y'all are lactose intolerant. If they don't bush trap constantly. Yes. They'll be trapping bushes for the cheese. Watch out, mice. As Generic Esports is going to be jumping in to the Noxus group here. And seeing these first two kind of shape out, I think so far there's no teams that thus far, we haven't hit our pool 1 and 2 teams, but have really taken away from the pack of the rest of the teams, which makes me really, really excited so far for how these groups are going to play out as we figure out, just who is going to be like the proverbial favorites, most likely those 1-2 teams.
Yeah, and I think it's also pretty reassuring for some of the bottom tier teams as well that were rated toward the lower end, because I look across these groups and I really don't think that any of them are like, oh, these middle of the pack teams are going to absolutely demolish the lower tier teams, and you can already kind of get a read for what the standings are going to be. So I think that potential for diversity in the standings, in just all of the teams can look competitive against one another on paper, is what is starting to shape this ACL to be quite exciting. I think that this is a really fun draw show so far. So let's keep it moving, though, as Piltover and Zon are awaiting their respective pool 3 teams. So when we get the chance, we will go back to the good old wheel to see who is joining. I would say Piltover has the best logos so far. We've been ranking individual logos, but I think overall Piltover definitely is in the lead there.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cheating when you get Holden and Bunny Girls in your roster, and then also, a controversial logo change when it did happen is here with Gravity. Shout out the old Gravity one, as this one looks like Unknown, but also just happy that Gravity is in this team. And this is a solid ass roster right here. We got Solidified, Cross, Aj, Ajosu, Burt, formerly known as Light and Reset, with Wave Control and Legacy. This is a team, this is the first team that I've seen that obviously I know majority of the names, looking at people like, pretty much everybody I've interacted with outside of Aj or Wave Control. But this is a roster that I think most people would just see and be like, playoff bound.
Well, hang on. Wave Control is Command Attack.
No.
Yeah, ISU Command Attack. So that's awesome, by the way. He is listed as a substitute, but given how smart Command Attack is, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy is like pseudo coaching the team behind the scenes.
Okay, now that I know this is awesome, because I think TJ, or Wave Control, formerly known as Command Attack, is the perfect coach for the person of like Burt to make use of Burt's champion pool. This is awesome. Very, very happy for them. Solidified has always been, I think, in the next echelon tier. Like, I think many people thought, Fiji and some of the likes of like Decoy and those that are now in NACL were like the top laners that were looking to get looks in NACL from some NACL teams. I put people like X-Royal and Solidified in that next group of top laners. So really excited to see him not just playing again, but on a team that I think will be able to, accentuate his strengths.
I agree. I also think that it's cool to see Aj back on a team where his strengths will be accentuated. I think that Cross has been a really aggressive jungler in my mind. I think that over the course of the ACL splits where I have been fortunate to cast him, Cross has been super good on champions with dynamic pathing. I think things like the Graves, I think things like the Jarvan, I think things even like the Kindred when he's capable of pulling that out. And I think his pairing of Aj, this is a very aggressive mid-jungle combo for Gravity, which always gets me really, really hyped, because I feel like we have enough information on these players to start making these kind of blueprints for how we imagine the win cons are going to shape out a majority of the time for the Gravity games when the season starts. But while we're talking about praise, I also do think one maybe slight small area of concern that I might have is with Bert, aka Light and Reset. Not because I think he's a bad player. I think Light and Reset's an amazing player, but I do think Light and Reset has a type of champion that he is very, very good on, and that is mostly of the Enchanter caliber. And right now, the support meta is Camille support, Poppy support, Hook champions. Anything that can be aggressive and in your face and more on the tank end is what is heavily sought after for a lot of the best teams in the world. And I do not think that Light and Reset has a ton of tape on those characters, so it'll be not necessarily a bad thing. I'll retract that statement, but it'll be interesting to see if he actually decides to make that adaptation or if he sticks with his guns once the season starts.
Yeah, I will say though, I like Bert's champion pool if it can be utilized effectively, right? Because like there is that like paper rock scissors of like League of Legends of like engage, poke, disengage, all this different stuff. And with someone like wave control or command attack kind of ushering in hopefully that ability to find these interesting and more atypical counter picks, which is something wave control was known for as not only just a coach but a player, right? To find like the Imba pick, as he would put it, the one that is the most imbalanced on the patch, or something that is not being played that really does counter what everyone does. And I know Bert and the majority of this team, if not all this team, Aj notwithstanding, only because I don't know them personally, puts in a lot of hours for the game. So I'm really excited that Gravity was able to get in at the last minute, and that they will be joining, I believe, that Piltover group.
Yep.
As we're going to go into the groups now. Getting everything ready as it is. And yeah, I still think you're kind of right. Piltover winning the logo group battle. Don't forget, whoever wins the logo group battle, Gordo will be personally handing you a slice of pizza and a cookie to each member of each team. That is not fact checkable, but I just made that up right now. So
No, you're it is indeed fact.
No, yeah, that's actually why Gordo can't be here today.
He's going to get it.
Yeah, he's going to get it right now for you guys, just so he can have it ready. He has all of your IP addresses.
They messed up the order. It was supposed to come yesterday, but I don't know. They got like it was too busy or something like that. So it's a today thing, which is why he couldn't be here. And it's a pizza of your choice, too. So I think if it is, in fact, Piltover, I imagine all the Gravity members probably want pineapple on their pizza. And if that's the case, I just can't respect them.
Wait, what? Okay, let's go on to the last draw, because I love pineapple on my pizza.
What? Right. No way.
Are you kidding?
That's awful. Okay, right, now...
Well, when you're older, we'll talk about it, okay?
Okay.
Team 6 Gaming going to be the last one, and the third team in Group Zon. This is Aria, not good enough. Michael, Alois, Sky Sailor, Projeki, and Kyuki. Is that actual Kyuki? Like the former coach Kyuki? Can I get a fact check on that?
I have no idea who that is. All right, so it looks like this team, I'm looking at the Discord name, so it's Aria, not good enough, Zyphrot, Sky Sailor, and then Projeki. I think that any team Aria is on, I automatically am looking forward to seeing when he locks in the ribbon. That is just, we were talking about some of the pocket picks for a few of these teams, you know, like the Nyla that we discussed, and maybe even the Kha'Zix from Zutter if he decides to bring that one out. In terms of pocket picks for this squad, it's going to be Arya's ribbon that I am just constantly hoping we get to see at one point or another.
Yeah, and so when I look at this team, what a fantastic logo, by the way. This is not going to be like the coolest logo to many other people, but I love a good retro 8-bit kind of 16-bit looking I want to be Sega Genesis ass logo. This is fantastic. I love this logo, so just had to get that out. But then looking at the teams, this is a team that I think people will not know many of the names. I've actually been watching Sky Sailor quite a bit on their stream. I am getting confirmation that this is also Kyuki, who is like Golden Guardian, C9, Academy coach. So,
yeah, I cannot believe I don't know who this is. That's
dude, yeah, you don't know ball. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, maybe.
I absolutely love this team. This is a good team. This is a team that will overperform expectations, and even though they're a group 3 seed. Like, this is a really strong team that I think them actually being in Zon plays benefit to them, because I think that outside of my proverbial top 4 teams joining them, that they'll make every series that they're in being extremely competitive. I know Projecki has also been one of the supports I've been having my eye on, as the support role has kind of been dwindling here within tier 2 and tier 3, tier 4, but has been putting a lot of hours in. So this is a really, really exciting roster. And also shout out Professor Aria, C-Lol. There we go.
All right, well, I think that's going to do it for our pool 3 teams, and now we get to go on to the perceived, at least by the community rankings, or the rating committee, I should say, the perceived favorites, which is always going to be fun, because I think that you and I, Sean, we've been around long enough to where we'll probably know about 90%, if not more, of the names that are about to be spoken from both tier 1 or pool 1 and pool 2. So we can start having maybe some disagreements on like how we think these teams will do relative to the competition that is shaped up in their group, and maybe even which group actually ends up being stronger. I think once we're done with pool 2, we'll have definitive, like, this is group of life, this is group of death, and that discussion will be really interesting. So I want to get to it ASAP. So let's get on to the pool 2 teams.
Agreed. 2 things. Shout out Zyfrot as well. I didn't shout out Zyfrot because of the name change. And then also, if you disagree with me, it's just going to be because you're wrong. But as we get Calamity Esports in right here, and I'm actually really happy this is the first one that we're going to be talking about for these pool 2 teams. That's going to be Trey Dog, Verdict, Lonely, or Chicken Joe, Heretic, Z-Score, and then Hunter for the sub position. The names I really want to talk about here are actually Heretic and Trey Dog. I think these are the 2 players on this team that are going to make or break this team's seeding, right? Regardless of who the seed 1 is, I think Trey Dog has been someone who has been spoken about as kind of just this weak side guy, and loses gracefully, but his mid game a bit inconsistent on either expanding those leads or playing the team fight that 1 nanosec correct that either way could win or lose the team fight. And then Heretic is North American ADCs. We got that talent in spades here, and I think Heretic is the next one up on that. So really excited to see both of them. Obviously, Verdict was on that Deathmark Esports team that made it to NACL, and I've known Verdict for a very, very long time when they went by their previous handle. So if you want a jungler to like set the pace, kind of like an Inspired, a Dardock, someone who's going to take over that early game, Verdict is your guy. And I'm really excited for them.
Verdict is the guy that I am 1000% keeping my eyes on. If we're talking individuals on this team, had a really good showing on Deathmark Esports in that promotion relegation tournament. Every single time I've seen him, I've just been amazed at the growth we have seen from him specifically. I think that this is another player that I would probably put in the same vein as like Smalls where maybe it's not the skill that I'm rating for both of them, but it is just the fact that they get better and better with every passing appearance they make in a competitive setting. So a lot of respect to him. Really excited to see where he goes and hope he can take Calamity to the promised lands. And I mean, this is an org that it's very fun now to see them in Pool 2, by the way. I remember when these guys were like just starting out in the ACL and they were in like Pool 6. They were in one of the last ones. Nobody knew who any of these players were. And I think similar to Verdict, they have climbed the ranks slowly but surely every passing split. So a lot of respect to Calamity for sticking with it through all of the ACL splits, through all of the OQs, getting better every single time. And now I think being one of maybe the perceived favorites going into this group. Obviously, like you said, they are Pool 2, but it just feels like such a big departure and such a massive increase in skill from where they started.
Agreed. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the color was also purple when they first started this out for Calamity Esports.
I think you're right.
Either that, or I'm thinking of like the Reapers. That was another one that kind of came out after Cincinnati Fear. Regardless, another good logo. This one reminds me of like Under the Red Hood type shit from Batman. Love this. This is really, really cool. As we're going to see them drop in to the Demacian group right here. We got a lot of red on this Demacian side.
We do.
Really, really
but
nice.
There's like, but yeah. It's like different shades of red. It's like the orangish red on the bottom. It's like the crimson in the middle, and then it's the dark, menacing, like Darth Maul colors on the top.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is very contradictory to Demacia, which is like all white.
If they were in Noxus, this would be like really.
It would go really hard if it was in Noxus. Can we switch them?
The Piltover ones were in Zaun, I think. If the Piltover ones were in Zaun, it would also go pretty hard.
That is true. Oh well. We are not.
Oh well.
It's not so perfect that we can have the colors be like thematically matching what the groups are named. But yeah, again, I'm very excited for Calamity as an esports organization. We've gotten to see the growth of these guys on the team and just this organization as a whole throughout the years that they have performed in the ACL. So we'll definitely keep my eye on them, as now we're going to go to the next team who will be in the Noxus division.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, if Team Samsara is pulled here, they will just get bumped over to the next group.
Yep.
And calling that now. So they will not be joining Noxus. They will be joining Piltover, as we will not have sister teams in the same one for competitive integrity's sake, as it's going to be Kappa, Aeon, Toothbooth, Good Boy, Destiny 2007 with Danish Basil and King K on the substitute part of this team. Again, Team Samsara, we've talked about the org a lot. Let's talk about these players. As we mentioned, Verdict, Good Boy was also
right
on that Deathmark Esports team. And let me say something about Good Boy, is that when scrimming that team, they were, in my estimation, the first team, not like globally, to kind of usher in this mage bot lane style of play with the roaming supports before we ever saw it at MSI or anywhere at a tier 1 level. And they did that, I think, because they were playing to the strengths of what Good Boy can do as a AD carry and a mid laner. So huge stuff from previous Deathmark Esports and now player Good Boy for Team Samsara. And I think seeing Aeon and Toothbooth together, I love this mid-jungle duo. These are people that I am always on the lookout for these next up to get always these NACL type of tryouts. And that, in my opinion, are just on the outside looking in. But a good performance here in ACL 2026 could bode well for them going into 2027.
I think Aeon is one of the players that I personally consider to be right on the precipice of being capable to make that jump into the Tier 2 league. I think even just looking back to the end of 2025 when we got to see him on things like the Saito Combine, where he was pulling up performances against junglers where the name value and the name recognition as pertains to the scene in North America was really, really high. He was going against some really talented junglers there, and he was doing fairly well. So I think that Aeon has a really high ceiling as a player. And my biggest thing is just making sure he goes onto teams where he can unlock that ceiling. And I think that Tooth Booth is a very good mid laner. Like you said, I think that Good Boy is a really talented ADC. And to the point that you made about Good Boy, where he is like a mage specialist, I remember in the promotion relegation tournament, a lot of the casters and I, when we were talking about this team and like where to go with them narratively and talking about their style, we talked about his over eagerness of wanting to always go mages. We talked about that as like a negative thing. We were like, this is not something that is going to work, especially in a best of 5. But how the turns have tabled, because now playing mages is the cool thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I really want to credit the Deathmark Esports team, and then also just Good Boy in general, from trying him out on some teams. And then Team Samsara, I think, to like, it's not like he's just a specialist on mages that you're only going to see him on mages. You'll see him on the Ezreal, you'll see him on Caitlyn, you'll see him on Lucian. This is something, and he puts in a lot of work and effort. So just really, really happy about this team. Excited for them. There was someone in chat that said Kappa is the best person on this team because Aeon's a noob. But that person who said that is also a noob. James, I'm calling you out. So there you go, animosity in chat. And the rest of the team, I think this is really, really good. I don't know much about Danish Basil or King K right here, but it does look like Destiny gonna be someone that is going to help either impact the rest of the map with Aeon, right? Or play for that type of lane dominance, as right now, they're playing the likes of the Alistar, the likes of the Camille. Has a shout out to Al Calamity playing the LeBlanc support sometimes. So we have a lot of cooking that can go on here with Team Samsara Bloom, and then now with their main roster here of Team Samsara main squad. So.
All right. Well, excited to see what Team Samsara have got cooking when it comes to getting back into the ACL. But now, like we have established, they are going to be the group in the Piltover division. So we get to see who will be in the Noxus division for sure this time. There is no way you're getting out of this one, whoever the spinner lands on.
By the way, for those unaware, the joke of King K being unknown is funny because that's Gongzi. That's Gongzi, guys.
Guys, he changed his name. Okay. All right. Final Boss Esports. So another organization or another, team that has the word esport as its last word that we might not be nearly as familiar with, but I mean, Sean, we know every single one of these players in and out.
Final Boss Esports. First off, this logo looks like a D3 college.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
This is so funny, actually.
Why is the final boss a bird?
Well, but see, to me, this is like what it's also like an indistinguishable bird to where like it's gonna pop out and be like that giant owl from Avatar: The Last Airbender, at the very end.
Lunchy Tong.
The knower of many things or whatever. Yeah, yep. That's how I feel about this. The bird has aura, absolutely. But Gygar, Castle, Reppy, Psycho, Barlow, and then Fortnite. We love Fortnite as the substitute right here. As you said, we know all these people. Lot of mainstays here in Tier 3. A lot of mainstays in Collegiate as well. Barlow and Castle and Reppy. Shout out hashtag Psycho Slide when I had Psycho on an old Supernova roster. Dude was still wanting to even play Azir, possibly bot lane at that time. So I think this is probably a roster when you see this, your like consistency as the name, but I also liken this to that Calamity roster where a player like Castle is very much similar to Verdict, where not only are they, Udyr enthusiasts, aficionados, but they want to take control of the game and make it go by their pace. So I do think that having solo laners like Gygar and Reppy to enable Castle is really good. Barlow has always been known for stuff like his Bard, his Nautilus, these roaming style champions. And then Psycho is the kind of standard, typical teamfight ADC that you're looking for.
And I wonder, particularly for Gygar and Reppy, if there is maybe a little bit of redemption that they're seeking after, because these were the solo laners of that Lotus squad that was really close to being able to promote into the NACL, but wasn't quite able to do it. And I think that these guys specifically were the ones that had the most questions circulating around them, right? Can Gygar match the top lane of the top lane level of the other players in that promotion tournament? Can Reppy do the same but in mid lane? So I think that these guys, at least from what I would think, have something to prove here in the ACL, and I'm hoping that they do, because I think that both of them are actually really fun to watch, and they're also just generally really fun people. I've seen Reppy in like the Salty Runback Discord multiple times. He's always extremely funny. Gygar, I've heard nothing but good things about him as a person. So wanting this team to succeed is definitely something that I think is going to be a big reason why I watch them so intently throughout the ACL.
100%. And, they will be going into that Noxus group. So we do get some red right here into Noxus.
Yep,
a lot of aura. You know what? You know what's funny? What if they're one of Swain's Ravens? Huh?
That's what I was thinking. Because, like, red and black is with a bird. Like, that's it could be a crow. They could be fiddlesticks.
True. Oh, I love me some Fiddle. Let's put this on League Classic for a bit and have Barlow pull out old Fiddlestick support, shall we? But I digress. As we're going to get to the last one here so we can wrap this up, because I know we're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about for these Tier 1 teams, as NLE Kittens as well will be in this group, which is so good that we didn't come to a point to where Next Level Esports and Next Level Esports Kittens, I believe, would have been in the same one. So this is, funnily enough, this is like, they say Kittens, but this is also their main roster. So usually different names mean like sister roster or whatever. And they put the cat ears on the logo here. Love that effect. As this is Brick, Rapid, Debonair, Deathwalker, Timio, Jbear, and Decker. Not to be confused with Dakar.
Nope. Tim is not playing in the ACL. Anyway,
shade, absolute shade.
He's not playing in the ACL before me. All right. Anyway, well, this is a team of players that have been with each other several times, right? I mean, Rapid and Boil the Oil have been on a team multiple different iterations, on Clown Gaming and Wang Dynasty and all of just the Wang teams in general. Debonair joined them as well. Deathwalker was on that team. Really, the only person that is technically like new for these guys is Timey, and who knows? Maybe that's like secretly a Jito account in disguise or something like that. But these guys have been playing League of Legends together competitively for an extremely long time. So it's really cool to see them always come back to run it back split after split, regardless of result, because they just genuinely enjoy being teammates with one another.
Yeah, I am really excited. Obviously, for those who don't know, Brick is Boil the Oil, just for those who are unaware. And also, if I'm not mistaken, I recently saw that Rapid just hit Challenger once again. Rapid, from my recollection, was on these like wild card, like Aces teams and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Always really thought that he was like, because I think he was like on teams with like Lunar and Just a whole lot, and those like the Takimon teams. back in the day. So this is, again, a group, a team that I liken to first Final Boss Esports a lot, where they've been playing together a whole lot, should have a high floor for ACL standards. And just looking forward to seeing all these people play. But what I really want to see from this team is to see if they can take that next step. Because for all these tier 2 teams, you are probably within the midst of the committee just one or a couple votes away from being considered a tier 1 team. So as we kind of look at the whole picture right now, you said at the end of group 2, which we are now at, as they will join that Zon group, can you definitively say group of life or group of death? Because for me right now, I find it extremely hard to do so.
I mean, I'm trying to think here. I would say if I had to have a group of death, personally, I would probably say it's Piltover at the current moment. I think that Samsara and Gravity are both really good teams. And then I'm blanking on their name. The one with the car logo.
Holden.
Oh my God. Yeah, Holden as well has some good players. Paragon, Protos, King Clueless are all players that we spoke highly of when we talked about them. And then Bunny Girls is your dark horse team, right? So I think that when you're looking at 4 out of 5 of these teams to have a decent to good performance, that's probably my group of death at the current moment. But like you said, without them being finished, I don't think it is. We can't say that for certain.
Absolutely. And now we're getting to it. Last 4 teams. There will be no, I believe, sister teams that we have to worry about. We have both Samsaras, we have both Kittens.
There is one. 9 Lives can't be in Zon.
9 Lives cannot be with the Kittens. So 9 Lives, get your crap together and be one of the first 3 picked here, as we're going to get this circle done so we can be done within a 2-hour stream. I know everyone is so busy on a Wednesday night. As we're going to spin right here, we have Contingent, Dorado Gaming, Black, 9 Lives Esports, and the one I haven't said yet, Deathmark Esports.
All right.
That's going to be Contingent right now, who I believe is actually their main roster, is playing currently on the NACL channel. And it's going to be Arbrio, Bio, Shochi, Chrome, formerly known as Aaron, and Nukes. This roster was one of my top 2 when looking at the roster immediately. Absolutely love the creation of this roster and what they will do here. And I think it highlights all 5 players' strengths absolutely perfectly. Congratulations for Contingent, also for reaching NACL as an organization who's been in tier 3 for quite some time.
And the committee seems to agree with you, Sean, as they are tied for the highest rated team in the ACL committee. And there's nothing but good things to say about this team. I mean, every single one of these guys have been in NACL at some point in their career. But for me, I really got to be the one to say I am focusing on Shochi. I think that the whole thing with CCG, where a lot of people were under the impression that he was going to be the mid laner for them, if we were talking about potential redemption for like Reppy and Geiger, Shochi is now going to have to come into the ACL, and he's probably going to be taking names one by one. So very clearly, I think the best mid laner here, and I really hope that is the case, because the fact that he is actually in the ACL, I think is slightly disgraceful. I really wanted to see him in tier 2, and I think in the ACL he should dominate everybody.
Yeah, it's so funny because I 100% agree. I was really shocked that he wasn't there. I think in some ways, players like Arbrio and Bio also, if there were more slots in NACL, these players, I think this entire team, all these players, whether on the same team or not, but I got to give my shout outs to my boys in the bot lane. Chrome, Aaron, formerly of Slew, and then also was on that Tempest to Conviction roster that we promoted into NACL with, and then Nukes, who I think the current meta fits him the best out of all the supports. This is the guy who would be in my DM saying, yo, why won't they let me play Silas support, man? I swear it's so good. And now people within the last month have been talking about Silas support as an answer to Camille support and stuff like that. This guy is on one for sure. Sometimes he's on one a little bit too crazy, which I think may be the only thing about this roster that I can see is that they want to go forward. And I don't know if there's a no man on this roster to just tell them that we need to calm down. Yeah. But I think it means I cannot wait to watch this team pop off, because if any of them find an angle, they're following it. I'd rather have 5 people following the wrong call than 4 people following the correct call and 1 person who needs to be there backing off. So really great roster creation here. They are going to be in that Demacia group. We'll have our first group taken care of as we are going in here now. And I mean, it's a strong Demacia group. Really excited for them. I'm also glad to just see Contingent still participating in the ACL even after they have made it into the NACL.
For sure. And I agree with you that the team is going to be like aggressive, but maybe won't know when to rein that aggression in. That is maybe like one of the things that you can levy, one of the only things you can probably levy against them as like a potential criticism on paper. But I also do quickly, before we move on to the team that'll be rounding out the Noxus division, want to give my flowers over to Arbrio as well. Even just a year and a half ago, I think that nobody really knew who this guy was, and he was just basically starting out his career in Tier 3 in the ACL in the OQs. And I think his growth over the past year, from doing really good in like summer open qualifiers to 2025 to making it into the NACL to now being back into the ACL here, it's been a pretty tumultuous journey for him. But I think that the perception growth that he has gone through since he has begun the improvement process around a year and a half ago has been really exciting to see. And so I'm looking forward to him being on a team with the rest of these guys who are definitely more experienced than him.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to go into the Wheel of Fortune. No, we're not. Yeah, it's just the wheel. We're going to spin it. Let's hope it's 9 lives or they get next so we don't have to run to this. And this is going to be Deathmark Esports, the organization who nearly missed it, but kind of was the darling team of that NACL run. They're going to have Karsiak, who was wanting to know in chat when they were going to get their name called. Hey, Paige and Karsiak, come to the principal's office. U13, Moss, Melk, C9 Winter, Old Man Winter, and Shimmer for the substitute spot. When I look at these names, I love this. I have been very, very happy for Winter to start coming back. I believe Winter is currently streaming right now, so not going to be here to hear me glaze, but that's okay. A donut doesn't need to know it's getting glazed for it to be a donut. Melk here, or Ben 1 on the solo queue ladder, has, again, I mentioned it with Heretic earlier. These are going to be these bot lane 80 carries that I think are going to be like the future of North American 80 carries. Moss, probably someone that we all know as Lycamaz. I like the name change, actually, just to Moss. With U13 and Karsiak, this team, while they have changed the names, I think will still embody the type of spirit that Deathmark Esports had in that promotion relegation tournament that made everyone so enamored with them.
And I think it's super cool to see Deathmark as an organization really blow up expectations, right? You already mentioned the Cinderella story nearly being complete in the promotion relegation tournament. And so I'm not going to say who did DM me this, but I had somebody message me their personal power rankings for the promotion relegation. And I think looking back at it is just very funny. So I'm going to read it here now. From best to worst, it is Blue, Contingent, Lotus, and 9 Lives, AMI, Blue Otter with Diomre Yumi, and then Deathmark.
I know who sent you that. Yeah. So
I just absolutely love that Deathmark had people who were doubting them that much. And they are able to now be a tier 1 team in the ACL, get nearly into the NACL. The turnaround for this organization has truly been a marvel. And I think this is a team that can easily help them get to a really strong, promising finish in the split.
I mean, this was one of my top 4 teams. I knew my top 4 teams coming into this, seeding committee immediately, Deathmark being one of them. I also think it's so funny because, just for a side tale, talking about like expectations, when I was making that Daystar team, we scrimmed Deathmark Esports twice, I believe, or at least one time before we actually ended up playing them in the lower bracket. And until they went 2 wins past beating us, because in scrims it was like, this is why scrim bucks are fake, everybody, by the way, is that we were really, really close with them. But then I think after our scrim, they really found out that they liked Good Boy in bot lane and Sir Zephyr in mid lane. And then they just went on this absolute tear. Nobody was outworking them. I again will say that they were ahead of the meta right here, Reed. But for this team right here, I think Karsiak, that the matchup that he had with Johnny Rockets, for contingent, and then and Ariana when they were on Blue Otter. Like, this is a guy that I think, I mentioned some of the top laners of like Solidified and X-Royal. Karsiak, for me, currently, based off of competitive performance, is at the very top of that list for top laners that should be getting looks into tier 2, if not previous year or previous season, the upcoming season. U13 was on that Weber teams that you were talking about earlier, and he is someone who is like kind of a specialist with like these bell vests and very, very early aggressive, likes to counter jungle a lot and take over the game and be kind of resource heavy, but can play the stuff that is a bit more utility focused. But I am really excited to see how Ben and Winter look together here, because I know Moss is going to be kind of like shot calling in the way that we imagine like old high shot calling on C9. He has a really good mind for the game. This team, I think, will still embody the spirit of Deathmark Esports, but be a lot more controlled based on the names that I'm seeing here on the roster, as they are going to be going, which I think is perfect in some ways, that Deathmark Esports, this red team, is going to be going into the Noxus group right here. So with that being said, as we're going to go here, we didn't have a lot of red and Noxus before, then 2 back-to-back red teams. Love this right now. I'm really, really excited. I do think that both of our Pool 1 teams are our favorites in both of their respective groups right now.
Yeah, but I agree.
I don't think that their tier 2 or Pool 2 counterparts are too far behind them.
So we have 2 Nine Lives teams. So does that mean that Nine Lives Esports, one of the remaining teams in Pool 1,
has to be in Piltover?
Right. So we basically have the groups already figured out. But we will just go through the formality of spinning the wheel regardless, as we'll just get to talk about the teams individually, and then maybe give some summarizing thoughts on each of the groups and our expectations.
Yep, and luckily they did it for us. So Nine Lives Esports is going to win right here. Oh wow, shocking! They're in Piltover. So this Nine Lives Esports is close to the team that they had, and there are some old name heads in this one, as we have Dragoon in the top lane, Will in the jungle. I'm going to say Kersey because I think of Hershey when I see this, as opposed to Kersey or something like that. Enthralled, and even though it says effect right there, that is formerly Clarice, with Cozy as their sub top laner or sub Swiss Army knife right here. Talked about the org and the staff previously. This is a team that also, the majority of them were in that promo relegation tournament, and with names like Dragoon and Will and Enthralled 1v9. This is a team that you should expect to be at the top of any group. Obviously, here in Piltover, with Team Samsara being that Pool 2, these are the 2 favorites coming in to this Piltover group.
Right. And I think for Nine Lives Esports, just a lot of stability is being brought on or kept to this team. I think that Will is a very foundationally sound jungler. I think that Dragoon has always been a guy who is capable of throwing caution to the wind and going for things like the set, going for things like the Mordekaiser when the situation calls for it, but has really good fundamentals, and has always kind of had that trait about him in his career, but then enthralled to kind of joining them in that department as well. So everyone here, I think, has a really high floor. I do think maybe the ceiling for this Nine Lives Esports team is potentially a little lower than some of the other Pool 1 teams. I think really the only caveat to that would be if Kersey, who I would imagine both you and I, Sean, are relatively unfamiliar with this player, if they can really show up and punch above or punch in their weight class, that might give an X factor over to Nine Lives that I think they could be lacking with just a traditional mid laner in the same vein as the teammates that are on Nine Lives, who, like we said, are the stabilizing pieces more than anything.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree with you about Kersey, but I will say that people like Enthralled, Dragoon, and Will, these are players that are like always touching and sometimes even get asked to sub in on these NACL scrims or even in officials. These guys at their peak for their ceilings, as you were mentioning before, can be NAC level players. I think Clarice has, to some people, not been as consistent, but I think this is another moment for them to show that they are a top support, especially as I mentioned before, support in North America not as tough as it used to be, or as competitive, I guess I should say. As Nine Live Esports will be going into that Piltover group here. And so as we kind of look at this now, a lot of purple in Piltover, quite like that.
Yeah.
And now I forget, I actually have forgotten the last team that's going to be in Zon here, as I think we should just kind of get into it, talk about them, and then give our thoughts over all of these groups here. Maybe some shout outs to one. Oh, of course.
Dorado Gaming Black.
Dorado. Another NACL org. Permanent tier 3 org, as my first interaction with them was in the Risen League when they had 85 different Dorado teams. As TC Porsche, Chunky, great name change, by the way, for Mike Young right there. Zhao Danny, or Wixie, and back from his Korean boot camp, Keel, formerly jungler of Ole Miss Esports, Keelington, right here, was Zeptogram, Alchemist, Special K, and Strompus. This has a lot of West Coast bias players, but a ton of absolute collegiate player backing. TC Porsche, UST, Mike Young, Zhao Danny, Bob Jenkins, Strompus, all these UCI players. I believe Alchemist is Ivan J. Yang as well, if I'm not mistaken. And then obviously Wixie and Keelington having some moments at like Fisher, Ole Miss, and Northwood as well. So really stacked roster through and through, even through the sub spots.
Yeah, all of these players are really talented. And I think that Keel is going to be the player I am most curious about, because like you said, he just got back from his Korean boot camp. But in the announcement video, or I guess the clarification video that Shopify put out, they had expressed they were maybe interested in picking Keel up for themselves in summer. That spot eventually did go over to Zazel. So it's really cool to see that for him. And I think now, you're being looked at by a tier 1 organization. I got to see you back it up. So I will be keeping my eyes on Keel, but Dorado has always been an organization that I think has been able to deliver, obviously, so much so that they found themselves in tier 2. But another exciting team put together by them. I'm very looking forward to seeing what they can do. And yeah, this is definitely a team that you got to keep your eye on and is for sure going in as one of the perceived favorites of the ACL.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll say this. He may hate me, but not really. But I just always message anytime that I'm looking for like people to make teams or stuff like that. I still throw out Wixie's name as a potential player to play, and I love the creation of this roster in terms of, again, these top level players who will accentuate other people's strengths and kind of cover up some weaknesses. And I think that really does go down to what form is Wixie and their solo laners, their top side in, and then how good is Keel on support right here. Right. I've beaten this dead horse about the support pool in North America, and if he can show up and really, really play at a high level, I think that this team could just become, of the 4 Group 1 seeds, the one that kind of just takes over.
I can for sure see this one being the one with the highest ceiling. I think is probably a good way to put it. I think that Xiao Danny has been really good for a large majority of his career, and it's just barely missed out on some of those big moments for himself at the highest level. So now with a team that has a ton of experience, with a team that has a bunch of really good players, like I still think he will be able to show up, and who knows, maybe we'll get some of the Xiao Danny specials. We've been talking about pocket picks, so if Xiao Danny can go for the auction, that would be absolute cinema. But now that we're officially done with the groups here, Sean, I kind of want to get your thoughts. I actually still think Piltover is the strongest one on paper. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And why, I guess?
I'll say this. I actually think, even though they have the least amount of teams, Zaun's top 4 right there. I mean, like, because if I'm not mistaken, top 4 get out of every group, right?
Right.
That top 4 is just playing for seeding. In my opinion, I think Hour Zero they will be playing spoilers to any of these teams, in my estimation, from like my seedings in the rankings for the seeding committee. But man, what a group that turned out to be for having the least amount of teams. I do agree with you. I think our production also said that Piltover like has the top rated seeds from pool 3, 4, and 5 in their group. So then, just having the pool 1 and 2 seeds right there, I do think, to your point, 9 Lives main and Team Samsara main being in here really, really makes this a very, very strong group. But I kind of am leaning more towards Noxus as like the group I want to watch. Like if there's a Noxus day to watch streams, I'm watching Noxus. I want to watch Final Boss. I want to watch Deathmark. I want to watch Generic, Bloom, Stasis, especially to see some of these potential specialists honor what they look like even more so off of their champions of note.
And I think what's really interesting, we could talk about the groups of death. I don't really think there are any groups of life. I think that the top 3 teams of every single one of these groups is really stacked. Like from perceived powerhouses that we basically have across the board in the pool 1 teams to like some dark horses in the pool 3 teams. I think that Gravity fall into that category. I think that Meebo's Weebos fall into that category. There are a lot of teams that could easily upset maybe some of the pool 2 squads in their respective groups. So I don't think any of these groups are easy, Shauna. I think that they all have a degree of difficulty to them, but just for me personally, I think Piltover is probably the most steep.
Yeah, and then also being told by production that the top 3 of every group get out, and then the 4th seeds will play 5th seeds against cross groups. So to me, that makes it even more or less likely that there's groups of life because of how, I believe we were even just saying, how contested these topside teams and some of the lower seeded teams could do. I mean, I do look at this Piltover one that you keep mentioning, and the fact that you have Bunny, Holden, and Nocturnal as your air quote bottom 3 seeds in this group, being top 3 in any of these groups is a lifesaver. I would hate to be 4 or 5 in any other group and then have to play against a Piltover-esque team.
Yep, I agree with you on that. But yeah, I feel like we have done our service to the stream, Mr. Shaunatonin. I think that there is a very clear picture of the teams we think are good, the teams we think are, in that dark horse category, like you said, specifically for Bunny Girls. And it's going to be a good ACL split. I can already feel it.
Absolutely. Just want to shout out our production for today. Thank you so much for Gordo for being sick so I get to yap. Thank you, Marcos, for doing all the slides, reinventing the wheel, literally, and having an absolutely adorable PFP of a beagle dog with a mustache and a top hat. If that's a logo on a team, they're my favorite team. Shout out to you, Quacks, for joining me here on the ACL, and shout out to the chat for typing up the entire time and calling us out, especially Austin Pessoa for saying Kersey is the one from Carolina Reapers. So that player does have a lot of upside. So good on you, Quacks, for remembering that. Make sure to come and watch ACL when it does start. And it's been fun. We kept this right at 2 hours, so we've hoped you enjoyed it. And I don't know if we are going to go raid someone or something, but if we do, please stick around and just go watch it. And if not, thank you so much for joining us on this midweek. Quacks, you have the final word.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining us on the stream. Hope you all have a great Wednesday night, and we will see you guys when we see ya.
Bro, just use Zen Market.